Christine Pitawanich with your weekly recap, where we catch you up on some of the biggest stories of the week. Among the top stories, President Trump has signed his domestic policy bill into law, what the cuts to Medicaid could look like in Oregon. Plus, an economist weighs in on the multiple layoff announcements stacking up in just 1 week. And we catch up with travelers at PDX after the TSA makes a major rule change. But we begin with a judge sentencing former Trailblazers player Ben McLemore to more than 8 years in prison for raping a woman at a teammate's house party in 2021. During the trial, that woman testified that she was incapacitated and unable to consent to sex after a night of heavy drinking. She spoke during sentencing on Wednesday. We agreed to not show her face.
Rape is not a word to be taken lightly. It's not something that should ever be used as a joke or a casual accusation. I fully understand the gravity of the word and the damage that it causes and the lives that it destroys. No amount of money could ever undo the damage he caused, and it wasn't compensation I was seeking, it was justice.
McLemore will also be required to register as a sex offender. President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is now law, and it includes cuts to Medicaid. This week, we followed up on what it could mean for Oregonians. More than 1 million people in Oregon rely on Medicaid for health coverage. That includes 70% of children in rural areas. On the 4th of July, President Trump signed the bill into law, which includes $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid. This week, we heard from the CEO of Care Oregon, a nonprofit that provides health insurance services. He spoke about what people should do before the cuts kick in.
The first thing is to try to make sure they don't lose coverage, right? Because a lot of the hassles will be administrative, that we have to make sure that people keep their addresses up to date with the Oregon Health Authority and with the state, that they pay attention and work with community partners and companies like Care Oregon and other coordinated care organizations to make sure that they're paying attention to the timing of these things. So if there are work requirements, if there are eligibility renewals they need to do, they're taking care of that in advance.
So these cuts are not happening right away. The New York Times created a timeline that indicates Medicaid and SNAP work requirements would begin in 2026, while additional funding changes would be delayed until 2028. Meantime, Portland city leaders have some decisions to make after the Trump administration told cities across the country get rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies or run the risk of losing federal grant money. Alma McCarty explains.
We get a lot of federal grants, about $100-ish million a year on the whole. They're primarily in housing, transportation. There's a lot in the public safety sphere as well.
And a new fiscal year paired with a new administration, presenting new challenges to the city of Portland.
We found out just in the last week that we now have the first grants coming forward where we need to make some decisions about how we work with the federal administration.
On Wednesday, City Administrator Michael Jordan released a statement alluding to these decisions and how to respond, writing, in part, executive orders signed by President Donald J. Trump have reshaped the legal landscape for cities that operate programs focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion. In particular, the federal government could withhold grants from cities whose DEI initiatives are out of compliance with the executive orders. He says the city currently manages 126 active federal grants totaling $387 million. And last year alone, Portland was awarded $98 million in federal grants.
We now need to look at the really important programs that those grants fund, and also the really important programs that the federal government isn't happy with, and figure out how we do our best to serve Portlanders.
Exactly how the city will respond remains to be seen. We spoke with Council President Ilana Pertolgini and Councilor Samir Kanal.
Sometimes that's called DEI, sometimes it's called inclusion, sometimes it's called making sure we're bringing everybody up as we do the work. That's what we need to be doing moving forward. That's part of Portland's values and Council's values. And if the Trump administration disagrees with that, I don't know what to tell them.
And we know what our values are and what our community's values are. And we care about making sure that we are not backsliding on equity and not making sure that we're not going to sell out any of our communities.
Alma McCarty, KGW News.
And while city officials grapple with that, layoffs are stacking up across Oregon. In just 1 week, we saw cuts at ODOT, Intel, Peabody, and Portland General Electric. An economics professor at Portland State University says tariffs and high interest rates have created an unpredictable environment, especially for global companies like Nike and Intel. He noted the state's unemployment rate ticked up to 4.8%. That's higher than the national average of 4.1%. He says economists will be watching the ripple effect of these layoffs, especially for small and local businesses.
If a person is laid off, they may not hire the plumber or the electrician who was going to work on their house. And so the plumber or the electrician's income is therefore reduced.
He says some economists are predicting a slowdown in the U.S. economy over the next 6 months due to the uncertainty around tariffs and high interest rates.
So it's not me I'm worried about. It's the guys with the families that worries me.
ODOT, of course, one of the places we mentioned facing layoffs, notices went out to nearly 500 workers on Monday, and there could be as many as 200 more layoffs coming early next year. It's happening because the state legislature failed to pass a bill to keep the agency afloat, even at its current level. Tim Gordon spoke with one of those laid-off workers earlier this week.
Letdown at the end of the Oregon legislature's 2025 session now has hundreds of workers getting layoff notices from the Oregon Department of Transportation.
I'm okay. I'm going to be fine, but and I know the guys will be fine. It's just it's a shock. It's one big shock.
One of them is Sharon Helms, a part-time ODOT worker laid off in Wheeler County, along with several others. She says her husband will be the only one left at the ODOT facility in the town of Spray.
What can one man do? All he can do is kick rocks off the road, maybe remove dead wildlife. He can't, jump in the loader and clean ditches.
Bigger jobs, from clearing ditches to paving, require a crew. Soon, that will be hard to do, especially in more rural areas where resources were already limited.
Because when these roads start falling apart, we're maintenance. We put Band-Aids on it and try to keep them, at least halfway decent.
Helms is concerned about how bad it may get for drivers, and that is echoed by Tina Kotek, Oregon's governor, writing, "Consequences to essential transportation services are imminent across the state. This is not business as usual. These layoffs constitute an emergency in Oregon's transportation system that will hurt every part of Oregon." From roadwork projects to helping during wildfire season, directing traffic and clearing roads to get them reopened. Then there is this coming winter when the snow flies and things ice up. It takes a team to clear Oregon's highways.
But when they left one man at a spray shop, I don't think anybody was thinking very clearly.
Sharon Helms did not want a mega funding package for ODOT like Democrats were trying to make happen. But she's disappointed the legislature didn't find a compromise to cover the basics.
They closed session. They wouldn't even consider it. I would willingly pay a 3 to 5 cent gas tax extra if I knew it was all going to keep the roads safe.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.
Well, after just 2 months on the market and Big Pink, the downtown Portland skyscraper, officially known as the U.S. Bancorp Tower, has a new owner. The Portland Business Journal reported this week that former telecom and auto industry exec Jeff Swickard bought the building in an all-cash deal. According to the Oregonian, the sale price was about $45 million. But 10 years ago, Big Pink sold for $372 million. And the city of Portland has approved a new 135-foot drop tower ride at Oaks Park, and some neighbors aren't happy about it. The decision allows the park to exceed current height limits and use special lighting for the ride. That lighting is a concern for some people living nearby and environmental groups. They're worried the light pollution will be an issue for migrating birds, which call the nearby wetlands home. Oaks Park says it has worked with experts to minimize those impacts. The ride is expected to open next year. In a statement, the Bird Alliance of Oregon said it is disappointed with the decision, saying, quote, "It signals that the city will not uphold its own lighting code, even in some of the highest value habitat we have left in the city."
I think it'll make everything a lot easier and smoother.
A major announcement this week from the TSA should make getting through airport security a little more convenient. After 2 decades, you no longer have to take off your shoes, even if you're standing in the general line. Devin Haskins caught up with travelers at PDX about the change.
If there's one thing that passengers hate about the security checkpoints,
potentially long lines, missing your flight.
All right, maybe there's two.
I mean, it's annoying to take technology out.
Okay, I'll just say it. It's also the shoes.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
For nearly 2 decades, it's been a common rule when flying. Take off your shoes, put them in the bin, and then walk through security.
I think it's silly. I think it's really silly.
What used to be a perk of TSA PreCheck is now available to everyone. Your shoes stay on.
Oh, sweet. That's great news.
Passengers we talked with loved the new rule.
I think it'll make everything a lot easier and smoother.
I also heard from passengers flying into PDX about their TSA experience.
It was very smooth, actually, and we didn't even have to take our shoes off, and it was a lot easier than past times.
The rule is because of what happened back in 2001. A man was arrested for trying to set off a bomb in his shoes on a flight to Miami. TSA implemented the rule in 2006. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, says since then, technology has changed.
We are very confident that we can continue to provide hospitality to folks and for American travelers and for those visiting our country while maintaining the same standard of security for passengers and for our homeland.
And for many flyers, they said it's about time.
Because we're already going through the scanner, I don't understand what it is that taking the shoes off is supposed to achieve that going through the full body scan is not going to also achieve.
And while we saw many people today walk through security keeping their shoes on, for some, old habits are going to be hard to break.
At PDX, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.
On a sunny, warming Friday, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill with this KGW 8 Plus weather forecast. And let me tell you, we are taping an additional update that we don't normally do because the change of timeline for expected heat next week. So if you saw this yesterday or even at some earlier point, you may have seen a 7-day forecast showing hot weather and impact alert because of that for Tuesday, Wednesday. But the update is it looks like hot weather will now come in Wednesday, Thursday. Clearly this is a ways out and the forecast could change again. But let me take you through what I've seen as I've been updating the forecast on this Friday. We're still looking at a hot bubble of air that settles across the western U.S. next week, okay? So that's what you're looking at here, 5,000-foot air mass temperature map showing you the core color-coded in red of the hottest weather over Nevada and up into Utah. Now this green and blue is a cooler push of air that comes in on Monday, and now it looks like that's going to hold off hot weather building for our area until we get to Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And with this update, I'm back to thinking we have a reasonable chance to reach 100 degrees. If you watch the KGW Sunrise show, either streaming or on TV, earlier this morning, my messaging was, hey, we're starting to back away from this. But it turns out the backing away has simply delayed everything by a day now that I've had better eyes on more weather models. So we've changed the impact alert for Wednesday and Thursday. Heat of the day, obviously the PM hours. But nighttime, too, when it gets hot like this, can be an issue for folks who don't have AC or a way to stay warm. Overnight lows may be mid to upper 60s or even close to 70 in some cases. The afternoon highs, at least 96, I think hotter than that, but maybe as hot as 102. Right now, 102 for Wednesday and Thursday, especially Thursday of next week, looks to be kind of the upper ceiling. And of course, heat exhaustion, shade water, sunscreen, plan your day accordingly like we've been telling you. Let me get you through the rest of our Friday into the weekend forecast right now. Another day that's had clouds and fog along the coast. This is the camera in the coming up on the 11 o'clock hour on this Friday morning in Lincoln City. Now, weather modeling still insistent that the coast will eventually clear out and warm up between 65 and 70 this afternoon. We'll see. It's been a beautiful sunny day inland. This is our, again, coming up on the 11 o'clock hour on this Friday of our Timberline camera, and there's our valley forecast numbers coming at you now. So it still looks like today is going to end up being about 10 degrees hotter than the last couple of days. The last couple of days have been 80, 82, 83 in the valley. Today more like 90, 91 for a lot of us, or at least getting close to 90. Mostly sunny, Salem 91, Corvallis the same, McMinnville at 90 degrees. Southwest Washington numbers 87 in Longview, 88 Battleground, 90 in Vancouver. Not much breeze out there so far. Today, northwesterlies 5 to 15. Even out in the Columbia River Gorge, the winds have been north. And remember, when you get a north or a south wind in the gorge, the topography of the mountains blocks the wind, so the gorge ends up with a fairly calm day. So far, that has been the case. We have 0 alerts or advisories in our area for this Friday, so that's good news. No thunderstorm threat, no extreme heat. At 5 o'clock, this shows 90 in Pendleton, which is pretty comfortable, actually, for this time of the year out in the Columbia Basin. 94 in the Dalles with gentle north winds, 88 in Madras, 86 in Bend. And then upper 80s to about 90, 91 from Portland down through Albany, and the coast expected to clear, as I mentioned, with temperatures getting between 65 and 70 degrees. All right, here comes the forecast update. I've made a couple tweaks. Again, today to me it looks like we either just hit 90 in Portland or we stop at 88, 89. Tomorrow, if we wake up and there's a little push of marine air coming in with some low cloud cover, that would signal you that we probably stay in the 80s, but still expected to be warm. I've got 88. I've lifted Sunday side from 92, 93 all the way up to 95. This will be a noticeably hotter day. Still looks like we get that cooler push of air from a Canadian high on Monday. Now, a couple interesting things to note. So going into Tuesday, here's the delayed heat. Tuesday was going to be mid to upper 90s, but now Tuesday is only around 90. Some of the models develop an east wind on Tuesday. Not the east wind of all east winds, but maybe noticeably breezy 15 to 25 miles per hour. Here's a problem. If we would get a fire sparked with temperatures around 90 on Tuesday and east winds that could potentially fan those flames and produce lower relative humidity, then the fires would have more of a tendency to spread. And that would be going into a calmer wind day, but a much hotter day on Wednesday and Thursday. So fire danger would definitely be a heightened alert here as well. Here's the new impact alert for Wednesday and Thursday. I've got both days at 98 degrees. The best chance of hitting 100 or better probably Thursday, but we could be close to 100 and maybe hit it on each of those 2 days. It was looking like we will cool on Thursday. Now it looks like there is cooler weather coming in Friday or into that following weekend. We appreciate you using our weather team as your weather source. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill with this KGW 8 Plus weather forecast.
And that's a wrap on your weekly recap. Again, I'm Christine Pitawanich. Remember, you can catch up on the latest headlines anytime on KGW.com, your KGW app, or our YouTube channel.